Okay, hi everybody. I'll show you. Hi everybody. It's been a long day. Been doing all kinds of things every day all week. Been keeping busy. I had plenty of things to fill my time, especially through this divorce, much needed. When I first met my wife, I thought she was a great catch. We got married, and slowly and surely things were unraveling and revealing themselves, and red flags, and it just increased over time. So there's really no better way for me to go about but just making this video. I put together a pamphlet of 5 testimonies of people witnessing Christys crazy making, also her putting her hands on me, breaking my nose, a witness, and also I didn't know this for 3 years, but a sex offender of minors that Christy Thompson is. But anyways, there's no other way but to dive into it, and I'll show you this packet I put together. Okay, I know I'm shaky, but let's read it. Christy Ann Thompson Love Truax, or Amity. She goes by different names, aliases, whatever, may be convenient, or simply known as Austin's Northeast Succubus. Now, the reason I put succubus is because a succubus is a demonic spirit that will visit a male sleeping and seduce him sexually. The opposite of that is an incubus, which is a so a succubus is a female, an incubus is a male demonic spirit that comes and has sex with females, seduces females. So this was the I didn't give her this actual name. Someone else who gave a testimony in this packet gave her that name, and I said, yeah, I know exactly. That's okay. Well, let's go into it. So that's Christy right there. Okay, that's her during about the time her first marriage when she was a Truax. That was her Facebook account. The mask and the creepy stare. This was during the sexual involvement with minors, about that time frame. And I also put here, you ever seen that movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer? It's a good movie. It's the best way I can relate. Warning, after reading this, your opinion of Christy may change. If you know Christy, it may change. Okay, so first one, it's been on Facebook for a year. Tanya Coy, Day 91, completely plausible. Every camp has a chief, a leader, a mama bear, someone who watches things and makes sure everyone is in their place. The first week I was at the camps, I met a married lesbian couple. Dominant, this is Christy, Dominant was the mama bear of this camp. She was organized, was one who kept things together, and always had a plausible story for what was happening with the camp. She was our group's go-to for info on what was needed in the camp. We all believed everything that she said. She had worked in home health care, was in online school to do programming, and she could communicate effectively with us. The programming school wasn't actually true. It was some silly Facebook group. It was a scam, it turned out. Anyways, continuing. Her story was that she and her partner, Heather, were in a terrible car accident, that the accident took their savings, that she nursed Heather back and was her advocate. Look at Heather's limp, she would say. I stopped working with Dominant when she assaulted Heather in front of me. They had broken up on a Sunday, and Monday we were scheduled to take their vehicle to a mechanic. Heather and Dominic were planning to go to Colorado and needed the car to get road safe before the trip. Dominic explained that time under the bridge was just a pit stop before moving to Colorado and working on their friend's farm. Completely plausible. I was told the car was paid for by Heather after watching their relationship for a couple of months and seeing Dominic's work ethic. I believed it. Not that it matters since it wasn't registered or insured and needed thousands of dollars of repair work. It wasn't a project to bring in y'all for. Heather asked me to take her back to camp after dropping the car off so that she could get some things she left behind from Dominic. Dominic was mad that Heather took the car. She was mad that I met Heather and was mad for 1,000 other reasons I won't ever know. Heather was asking for her daughter's school pictures from their tent when Dominic punched her in the face. It was terrible. Heather buckled, fell to her knees, and got kicked. I walked away. I'm a coward. Their friend was there to help Heather. That was Chad. Anyways, the next day, Dominic had cleared their camp of everything with the help of a couple of guys with cars who, quote-unquote, help at the camp. She was gone. Dominic took everything. The story was that she was staying in a hotel with a friend and was planning to leave for Colorado. A different friend was coming to get her. She reached out to me via text. I asked her if she needed any help, if I could take her to get some help. The week leading up to this, things had started shifting, and there was some things that were said along the way that clued me into the fact that she was breaking her facade, cracking. Her reply to me, "You're dismissed." Cool. Hey. Heather was not at any of the camps I visited that week. She disappeared. Heather's a gentle soul and a hard worker, a genuine nice person, human. I was worried, sent a couple of texts, and then one day she showed up at Patrick's camp. Everyone who's looking for me shows up at Patrick's camp. Y'all are going to love Patrick. I love Patrick. Anyway, Heather moved into Patrick's camp. We talked about her daughter, her reaching out to her dad, and her thinking about going home. Shy smiles from Heather indicated a little hope. A week later, Dominic moved in. Eye roll from me. I was not happy, but Heather was. Heather flew a sign. Dominic sat at camp with the dog and told the quote-unquote stories to passerbys who wanted to help. The quote-unquote the lady in the dress with the dog. Dominic puts a good show on. She's believable. She plays the victim well. During this time, I would bring ice, but there was no convo between Dominic and me. She avoided me and I her. A few weeks went by. Heather got a job at a burger place. She worked. She was proud that she was working. She still flew a sign on her off days. She looked good. She was gaining confidence from having a job. They were starting to talk about their next steps. Then, poof, both of them gone. Their campsite was a wreck when I showed up. Patrick said they had a big fight that night that Heather left and that Dominic was leaving town. A friend was picking her up. Colorado, he thought, she said. 4 days later, 5 days, a week passed, no Heather. Then a text at 7:45 a.m., an unknown number. It's Heather. She's been staying at a different camp, and Dominic is stalking her. Dominic and the guys in the camp are in cahoots, telling Heather's every move. She just needs to get her folder from the tent, but can't go back alone. And could I help? The next 12 hours were crazy. We got her folder from the tent. It wasn't easy. There was a yelling fight with Heather and the guy who runs the camp. I even got to yell, a really not fun circus. What was in the folder? What did she not want to leave behind? The pictures of her daughter. She needed a place to stay for a few hours. Where no one knew her, where no one knew Dominant, I called Linda, a formerly homeless friend, to help. And on our way to camp, Linda said Heather could stay with her that day and night if needed. We didn't know when or if Heather was actually going home, just that she needed a little time to think. At Linda's, Heather made an appointment with a doctor for a rash. I'd got this from the rain. It was on my back. Anyways, mold and everything. But anyways, got on the bus, got to the clinic, and then wasn't able to be seen because they didn't take MAP, the homeless insurance. Heather spent an hour begging for $1 for bus fare, but back to Linda's. But folks just kept bringing her food. She called me, and we laughed about it, then finally bus fare. Heather called from the bus and said she thought she was ready to go home. She talked to her sister, who assured me that she would have a place to stay when she got there. We talked to her dad, who was worried about her meth use and that she had not been treated. He said they had not seen each other in over 14 years. And we got her on the bus that night, 14 hours after her text. She spent 2.5 days on a bus, 3 hours waiting to be picked up because her mom unexpectedly went into the hospital that same day. An evening in the ER, 3-hour ambulance ride to a mental hospital in Fargo, North Dakota because she admitted meth use and recent attempt suicide to the ER doctor. 5 days in the mental hospital to establish medication, and she made it. She made it. She is now home at her sister's home with her sister and nieces. Today she tells me they are expecting her paperwork to get her into recovery program with housing. It's a place that she can sort through her thoughts and make a plan. I don't talk to Heather every day. I don't need to. She's moving forward with her life. She has walked through dark tunnels, stepping on glass, surrounded by her demons, but today she's taking one step at a time, moving towards the light, making her new life, new memories. She's so incredibly brave. I saw Dominant again this weekend at Mosaic Church's Sunday Homeless Ministry. A different escort each week accompanies her. I'm guessing there's no friend in Colorado. I sent Heather this picture last week of Patrick. He was wearing a Fargo, North Dakota shirt. He has never been there. He didn't know Heather was there. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. God winks. Now the pictures are on Facebook. You can find them there. I'll probably put in links. All right. My statement, my testimony. Let me get something to drink. All right, me, Heather. I met Christy at a woman's shelter. We both had our daughters. We only knew each other for a few weeks and we got married. I thought that Christy was a perfect catch. This was my first time getting married and her third time at marriage. Shortly after we got married, about a week, I heard Christy talking on the phone to one of her Facebook followers. And she was explaining our lovemaking in a very provocative way to entice him. I called both of them out on their behavior and didn't feel right with the situation. That was the first red flag. And yes, there was an explosion from Christy. Okay, upon leaving the shelter, Christy convinced another Facebook follower to take us in, all the way in Atlanta, Georgia. Everything was okay for a couple weeks, then Christy grew tired of having to interact with this lady, so she decided to give her the silent treatment while in the same house. The owner of the house was not happy about it and lashed out at both of us. Can kind of understand that. I was not okay, with the situation and was beginning to think I should make plans to get out of the situation. Christy picked up on this and applied the love bombing tactics to keep me around. It worked. The lady ended up sending us back to Texas and we were happy to go back. So after being stranded at the Greyhound bus station for days, Christy got a hold of another guy, also a Facebook follower. He picks us all up, and takes us to his apartment. I was already seeing the pattern that was happening. I ended up getting 3 jobs just so we could get a vehicle. This guy was asking Christy for any kind of compensation, and she refused it because he was sexually harassing Christy and even her daughter. I thought to myself, why would you not be weary of him anyway? He was another complete stranger to you besides talking on Facebook. He gets evicted, and we get a vehicle in the nick of time to leave. I had Christy put the car in her name, and with monthly payments of $250, I thought we could handle that. The first payment comes, and Christy said, "I don't think we need to make payments." I was confused because we had the money. Stupid that I went along with it. It didn't take long for the car to be repossessed. Continuing to jump from one Facebook friend to another just to squat rent-free at each individual's place. Christy didn't see anything wrong with doing this to her supposed friends. I was now living like Christy had been living for years. I didn't feel right. I would call her out on these things. Christy would respond to me, "I'm leaving you." Why? Because I don't agree with the way we're living? We were not setting a good example for the girls. She didn't care about that. Christy had threatened to leave me on a regular basis. This really played a toll on my self-confidence. If I didn't go along with Christy's agenda, then that would make me the villain in her eyes. Every person that came into our lives, Christy would attach herself to, leaving me feel like I wasn't all she needed. I convinced myself that she was just a social butterfly and a flirtatious with others. I didn't like what I was seeing. How could I explain this to these people? Because every one of them fell in love with Christy and didn't hesitate to help her with whatever. I knew it was only a matter of time before she decided to discard them. Christy really would treat me and the girls unfairly, and over time, it never improved. She hates loved ones and loves strangers because they're a clean slate. They don't know her yet. Amelia was unhappy too. It was the lifestyle Christy chose. Amelia jumps out of the car because she wanted to run away. Christy was right behind her, and they both got into a shoving match. Christy took Amelia's phone and threw it into the brush. I had to go back to find her phone. Christy decided to drop Amelia off at the police station, basically abandoning her on the spot. I said, "You really want us to leave her here?" She said, "Amelia is her father's problem now." I was extremely uncomfortable with this. So then there was my 6-year-old still with us, and Christy would treat Madison like she was a problem. I would come home from work, and I would hear Christy yelling at Madison from outside. This happened a lot, and if I didn't have Christy's side, I would be the enemy, and there would be hell to pay. I grew very upset with her treatment to my daughter and kicked her out a few different occasions. Eventually returning, she would always make me regret it. One day, I noticed bruises on Madison's lips, and I said, "What happened to you?" Madison was very scared, started crying, said that Christy put her hand over her mouth, and that's how it happened. That same night, I load up the car in Madison, and we sneak out. Christy called the cops, trying to have an APD put on the car. The cops talked to me, wanted me to come back. I said, "Not tonight, but tomorrow." My daughter was afraid. I met with them the next day. Madison gave her statement, and they took pictures. I explained to them that Madison wanted to go to her dad's, and I was trying to get her to her aunt. I admitted, no, I didn't have a driver's license, and Christy's trying to keep me from leaving with the car. They said, "We don't mind you doing the right thing, getting her out of the situation." I was grateful for their understanding. And me, for being stupid and thinking I was still in love with Christy, I took her back. She swore up and down she didn't hurt Madison, but why would a 6-year-old lie? We were living on the farm, and Christy caused a lot of drama with my boss. He didn't like Christy at all, so Christy comes up with her next agenda, that being we need to leave the farm and move to Austin just to live out of a car. It was a bad situation because my boss didn't want her there no more. So I agreed just to get her off the farm. Ooh, damn it. There we go, excuse me. After a couple weeks living out of the car, working for a temp agency, we were on our way to a job site. I was driving and Christy said, "Stop at a gas station so I can pee." I make a mistake and drive past it. Christy was sitting behind me and was pissed I forgot to stop. She cold cocks me, sucker punches me in the ear while I was driving. I had never been hit in the ear, let alone sucker punched. I get so angry and so delirious I end up blacking out and hitting a tree. Jaws of life and being life flighted by helicopter to get placed in surgery immediately. 5 fractures across my pelvis, a crushed knee, and more. Christy had a couple broken ribs. I woke up from my coma and Christy asked me what I was thinking, crashing like that. I said, well, I was very angry and I didn't care what was going to happen. Basically, I didn't know what was going to happen because I blacked out. Christy took that as I tried to kill us and that she would tell everyone. I should have pressed charges on Christy, but I was broken up. Christy became my caretaker. I felt completely defeated. Had to learn how to walk again. Was in a nursing home. Christy did work for 2 months while I was rehabbing, and I found out she was secretly having an emotional relationship with a guy at work. I found out because I came across their messages between them. I kept it to myself, didn't bring it up. I was focused on walking once again. That was the beginning of the micro cheating. One of the many times. Okay, there are so many stories, I can't tell you all of them at once. Christy was trying to brainwash me that I was the one with the mental illness, so I looked for solutions, went to treatment, got on meds, did what I thought I should do. Did Christy ever do anything to improve her borderline personality disorder or her manic depression? No. She always denied she had a problem. Her only problem was because of everyone else. Never her. Not her. Christy believes her own reality. If she says it enough times, then that's her reality. She has really always been out of touch with reality since I've known her. She completely lives by double standards. She was never in the wrong. Everyone else was. She can do whatever she wanted, while I could not. She only keeps people in her life if she thought they could serve her a purpose. Once she grew tired of them and their resources, she would tactically find another new sucker to move on to, while the other was discarded by her. She looks to stir the pot and to get others to turn on her newly discarded. I know I was slandered like this for 3 years. Her pattern stays pretty consistent because she's had years of practice. Christy has always stripped me of all my belongings. She would leave me just so she could do whatever she wanted without me knowing what exactly she was up to with whoever she wanted, convincing them I was a monster and confirming their importance and why she needed that new person by her. Christy accused me of rape. I said, prove it. She lied to others that she had a rape kit done, but it was only a lie. The cops told me that was never done. There's no record of it. If you get raped, why don't you actually go to the cops? Excuse me. She is the boy who cried wolf. Any story I hear from people in her life, it would always be they're sexually harassing her, they raped her, but actually she would be the one harassing others and turn around and smear that person to others as if they were obsessing about her sexually and wouldn't leave her alone, so she rallies people against individuals like this. She has no remorse, constantly looking for her next pet, just to basically put their head on a silver platter and be proud of doing so. I've observed that violent and malicious people think very highly about themselves. I'm just glad I'm no longer trapped inside her labyrinth. I didn't know how to tell people what eventually was going to happen. The only thing I had on my side was time. Eventually people catch on for themselves. There's so much more, but it hurts my heart to have been through this and knowing she's going to continue with her patterns. I just hope that this helps people, that people pay attention and they really think about this. There are way too many people walking the streets who do these things to others and get away with it on a regular basis. This is the best way I know how to combat it. I think my battery's running low. Yeah, my battery's running low. All right. So, I think I'm going to charge up my phone. So that's part 1 of the pamphlet. And we'll get to part 2 very shortly. Thank you.